voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. We have so much ground to cover tonight. Election stuff will be with us. We're going to dig into that right off the top. Mark Carney in Georgetown, Pierre Poilievre, huge crowd. Jagmeet Singh, not so much, on his bus tour. We have tariffs. Trump tariffs due to hit tomorrow, Liberation Day. What will that look like? We'll try to give you a preview. We'll talk about the stock market. We'll also talk about what else is on my list here tonight. Oh, yeah, Trump wants a third term. He's not joking. No kidding. Foreign interference. Concerns about that and a new report out looking at foreign interference as we, get this federal election in Canada underway. And the Freedom Convoy hacker the guy who hacked into the Give, Send, Go, and then all the names of the donors were released. He's been arrested again. And Marine Le Pen over in France, convicted on embezzlement charges, and banned from running in the next election. Some people are pretty steamed about that. And how steamed you are depends on your perspective. We also have a person who would like to meet Elon Musk face to face. We're going to show you an interesting video to explain what that's about. And my dad. Dad jokes. Special interview with my dad as we look ahead to his 93rd birthday. We'll have him on the program to share one of his birthday gifts with all of us tonight. And more than that, we're going to look back at the before times with my 93-year-old father. Oh, how I miss the before times. Maybe with that, we will find a little bit of hope and recalibrate our compass so that maybe we can get back to those better times, better days, happy days. I will be back right after this. There's a lot to unpack tonight.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
One moment. I need to finish queuing up one piece of video, and then we'll kick things off.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, we're back. Let's get things started with this election stuff here first tonight, okay? Because this is all very current. It's happening even as we speak. And Mark Carney in Georgetown campaigning, the new Prime Minister of Canada, looking to secure a seat in the House of Commons in this election. And this is what it looked like outside a pub in Georgetown where basically it's standing room only tonight. And it looks like they're having to turn people away.
I think it's outside.
You 9. I mean, we're not talking Donald Trump rally kind of crowd, but he has people out, and this is what it looked like when he was getting off the campaign bus just a short time ago. And here we go, Kareem Assad. Video here. We're going to go to a Poilievre rally momentarily.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that gives you the sense of what things are like, have been like on the outside. What about on the inside? Well, on the inside, things looking like this. Here we go. Here's Carney speaking.
Thank you, Christine. Wow. This is not a calm room. This is not a steady room. This is Georgetown. That's good. That's what we need. Because we need to find who's ready. Who's ready? Who is ready to stand up for Canada? Who is standing up, and you don't all have to stand up, but who is metaphorically standing up for Christina and Adam to send them to Ottawa? This is, and thank you so much. Thank you for lending us Christina to your husband. Thank you so much for standing up because, and Adam for coming back, because this is the most consequential election of our lifetimes. This will help define our country. And there's many ways to stand up for a country. But part of, oh, the Arkells, that's good. I like that hat. We are in Arkells territory. There's many ways. You can lend your song to one of our campaign videos. That's an example of stand up. You can put up signs. You can knock on doors. You can make phone calls. You can send in ideas. All of those are ways to stand up for our country right now. We also have to stand up directly to a man named Donald Trump. Yeah. A man who, don't blame you. Don't blame him. No, a man who wants to break us so America can own us. That is the strategy. No, and that is never, ever going to happen. And I made that clear to him when we spoke a few days ago. And we agreed that we would work together after the election. But in order to work together after the election, I need to get elected. So I am going to be working every hour with these great people to get elected. But let me say a few words about our strategy, what we're doing in face of these pressures. We're doing three things. We're going to fight. We are going to protect, and we are going to build. Nous nous battons, nous nous protégeons et nous nous bâtissons. Nous nous bâtissons l'économie la plus forte du G7. Une économie qui fonctionne pour tous et toutes. Okay, we are going to build the strongest country. Now, how are we fighting? We're matching what the Americans are doing to us with our own tariffs. How are we protecting? We are taking all of that money and we are using it for the workers and the companies that are most affected. So the workers in the auto sector, the workers in the steel sector, the workers in the aluminum sector. We're taking all of it back. Pierre Poilievre, by the way, is taking all of it and he's giving it away. He's giving it away literally as a tax cut. Yeah, because he's got one strategy for each situation, cut and burn. Okay. But the big thing we're doing is building. We are building this economy. This is an opportunity to turn 13 Canadian economies into one Canadian economy. We got the internet. Yeah. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity which we are going to seize, and we made a huge announcement this morning where we are going to double the rate of home building in this country. We're going to build 500,000 homes a year, every year for decades. And if you're young, and you are young,
problem with
that's
speed.
young. There's lots of youth. It's good, lots of youth here. What? It means a couple of things. One, if you're interested in going in the trades, you've got a career. Not a job, a career. Because it's going to be 35 years of building. But it also means that you're going to be able to buy a home. You're going to be able to afford a home. Just like I could afford a home. You've got a future. We're going to build a future. We're building a future for you guys right here. Oh my God, this is why I'm in this, actually, right there. We are also going to find some new friends. We are going to build partnerships with, get this, reliable trading partners. People who, when they sign things in Europe and in Asia, but above all, what we're going to do, and I think this is at the core of why this election is so important, is, you take a few lessons from the last few months. We take a few lessons. One of them is that we really have to look out for ourselves. But we can only do that if we take care of each other. And that's a huge part of what the Liberal Party is about. We understand how to grow the economy, and we will grow this economy. We understand how we can build and build together, but we also understand why. Yes, it's for the good jobs and great futures for younger Canadians. Yes, it's for a sustainable economy and future here. But it's also for those who are less fortunate than we are. It's for childcare for young families who are struggling. It's for dental care for the 8 million Canadians. 8 million Canadians. 20% of our population that cannot afford it aren't going to the dentist. 8 million Canadians. By the way, Pierre Poilievre will get rid of it. He'll get rid of the child care as well. It's for pharmacare. It's for a health care system that works. It's for all those things that are part of being in it together. That's what this election is about. That's what we're going to build. We're going to build the strongest economy. We're going to build it for you, but we can't do it without you. So thank you all. Merci beaucoup pour tout ce que vous faites. And let's have, I'm going to be pouring pints. And the great thing is that Adam is buying. Let's go to the bar. Thank you very much.
Good job, man. Give it up.
All right. So, I've seen everything shift over the past few days. Everything changed with that phone call between Carney and Trump. It was like some people just didn't know what to do with that, because he took a tough stand with Trump, or so we were told. And then Trump comes out, doesn't call him the governor, says that Canada is not one of the countries he's referring to when he says countries are ripping off the United States, even though Canada clearly has been, says that Canada has been nasty to deal with, but changes the tone entirely with Mark Carney. And then now people on the conservative or the right side of the political spectrum, the influencers, everything's changed. Before the call, it was like Trump's a good guy. Everything he's doing is for our own good. Don't say anything bad about Trump. Carney is evil. Trudeau is evil. Pierre Poilievre is a good guy. But Trump is not to blame for anything. He's doing Canada a great big favor. Then the call happens, and now the narrative has changed. Now suddenly it's Trump and Carney are in it together, and they're both evil now, or something. Something strange has happened to the narrative. Now suddenly Trump and Carney are bad, but together, but Trump is still good. You're not supposed to criticize Trump. It's like it's all messed up now. But still, we march forward toward whatever this thing is that we're destined to reach. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? It's all messed up now. The narrative, the Carney Trump phone call threw a monkey wrench into the gears of the anti-Carney, pro-Poilievre, pro-conservative, let's join the United States as the 51st state narrative. Something went haywire, and now it's all being sort of recalibrated, and the people on the anti-Carney side making fun of the elbows up campaign, calling it a psyop. And now Carney and Trump are evil together. But if you just talk about Trump, he's still okay. And we should still join the United States, because I don't know, man. It's like it doesn't even make sense where all this has gone. Poilievre in Fredericton tonight, campaigning. And he has his formula down too. Very effective campaign, sort of, except that in classic conservative style, they've blown their lead somehow. This massive lead where they would have had the largest majority in Canadian history had we gone to the polls even just a few weeks ago. And now the Liberals have closed the gap. According to the latest polls, they've actually overtaken, in some cases by 5, maybe even 10 points, overtaken the Conservatives. But he still has an effective campaign. He's still sort of, I'm not sure the messaging is as effective as it was, because the Liberals have stolen some of the planks out of their platform. But he's got his wife front and center on the stage with him. So she's a big asset to him, his family image. I saw a video yesterday of him giving her a piggyback ride because she'd been on her feet for hours in her heels, So is that genuine? Yeah, I think it is sort of genuine, but it also shows his human side. I think he's trying to appeal to people that way, as sort of a man of the common people. But he's a conservative. Everything has changed. Conservatives used to be the party of big business. Now suddenly they're the party of the people. Anyway, weird. Here we go to Fredericton with Pierre Poilievre and his wife on the stage, getting things kicked off here. And here we go.
Bonjour, Fredericton! Who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Who's ready to axe some taxes? Who's ready to build some homes? Who's ready to build some pipelines? And who's ready to bring home change to the country we love? Wow, quel excellent gros. Oui, bring it home. Look at this crowd.
Bigger crowd there than the Carney event, I'll say that.
Look at this crowd, incredible. And it's not just, I need you as well. What a guy. Thank you. Just for that, you get a shirt. There you go.
Carney in
There
Georgetown,
you go.
Ontario.
Thanks for that. A great patriot. Look at this
Poilievre
crowd.
out in the Maritimes,
Incredible.
Fredericton.
I think that New Brunswickers are ready to put Canada first. What do you think? Ready for a change. Thank you. I love you too. So it's not just the quantity of people, it's the quality. Look at these. They're like incredible people. Very good-looking crowd. Patriotic, strong, optimistic. Look at those smiles. People feel hopeful again. They see hope on the horizon. They want to bring home the promise of this country. La promesse du Canada, que chacun qui travaille fort peut avoir une belle vie dans une belle maison, dans une communauté sécuritaire, protégée par des braves soldats sous notre fier drapeau canadien. That is the Canadian promise, that anyone who works hard can have a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street, protected by brave troops under a proud flag. That's what it means to put Canada first. And that's why we're running. Because after the lost Liberal decade, here's the question. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under the thumb of the Americans, do we want to elect the Liberals for a fourth term? Or do we want to put Canada first for a change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, and make our country strong? Change. Who wants change? The Liberals will take the change out of your pocket. There's none left.
Oh, and it
Everyone's
froze up.
already broke. But they're pulling a fast one again, aren't they? After the last Liberal decade, they want you to forget that they doubled housing costs, that they drove up food prices 37% faster in Canada than in the United States with their carbon tax on the farmers and truckers who bring us the food. They want you to forget that they drove 25% of Canadians into poverty. They want you to forget the crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder, the 50,000 blessed souls that we lost to drug overdoses because of their radical liberal ideology on drugs. They want us to forget that they blocked pipelines and mines and drove hundreds of billions of dollars out of our country into the United States, making us helpless against the unjustified threats of Donald Trump. They want you to forget all of that, and the trick they're employing is replacing Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor, Mark Carney. Now, it is, as Atlantic Canadians will tell you, it might be a new face at the helm, but it's the same ship, the same Liberal ship, the same Liberal crew, the same broken-down Liberal boat, the same sinking ship that's going straight down. That is not change, my friends. That is more of the disastrous status quo that Canadians want to leave behind. It's the same Liberal ministers, same Liberal MPs, same Liberal promises, same Liberal results if you elect them for a fourth Liberal term. The only difference is that they now have an even weaker and more compromised leader than they had before. Mark Carney has already demonstrated that he's prepared to sell out our country for his own self-interest. He moved his corporate headquarters from Canada to the United States just 6 days after Trump threatened our economy with tariffs. He could have pounded his fist on that mahogany desk at that boardroom meeting and said, Donald Trump is threatening Canada and I won't back down. I'm keeping the jobs in Canada. But instead he chose his profit before his patriotism, and Canadians will never forget it. And while our schools and hospitals were starving for money and our taxpayers were overcharged, he stashed his corporate cash in Bermuda so that he wouldn't have to pay Canadian taxes. He took a $250 million loan for his company from a Chinese government-backed bank, personally traveling to Beijing to secure the deal in October, while he was the economic advisor to Justin Trudeau, who should have been acting in Canada's national interest. Now, he is locked up in that conflict of interest. And the worst thing about all of these decisions is that he still owns the shares and the investments in the company he moved to New York, for which he held the taxes down in Bermuda, and from which he got the loan from the Chinese government. All of these foreign interests will be pulling his strings. My friends, this is not a way to change from the lost Liberal decade. Mark Carney will make it even worse. And just today, we saw evidence of that. Did you hear the story of this Liberal MP? It's incredible. The Chinese government puts out a bounty on the head of a Canadian citizen because he criticized China. And the Liberal candidate in the same riding as this Conservative candidate said that that people should turn him over to the Chinese government to send him back to China where he could be killed on a bounty. And Mark Carney was asked what he thought, and he said he would keep that Liberal candidate in place. Of course he would. When you owe the Chinese government $250 million, it's pretty hard to stand up for Canada, isn't it? If this is the question as we face the threats of trade tariffs from Trump, if Mark Carney will not stand up for a Canadian citizen whose life is threatened by a hostile foreign regime, will he ever stand up for Canada against the Americans? Of course not. But he is weak, out of touch, and compromised. But he will never put Canada first. And that's why the choice in this election is very clear. Do you want a weak and compromised Liberal to carry on with a fourth Liberal term of driving costs and crime up and driving our country down? Or are you ready for a change with a Canada First Conservative government? Canada First starts with bringing home our jobs and our money, with a real Bring It Home plan. Bring it home is my terminology for two reasons. One, because we're going to be bringing home the hundreds of billions of dollars Liberals have driven out of the country to hostile foreign economies. And two, because you are going to be bringing home more of your paycheck. Let's start with that. The Bring It Home tax cut will lower tax rates on work, investment, energy, and home building. Let's start with work. Anybody see that meme online of the kid sitting in the park with his dad, and kid's got his face in his hands, bawling his eyes out. He's asked his dad, what is an income tax for him? And dad said, well, it's just like your school report card, just the opposite. The harder you work, the worse you do. You actually, income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. Today, Canadians spend more on tax than they do on food, clothing, and shelter combined. The government has become a morbidly obese, never satisfied monster that consumes more and more of everything that you produce. Now it has grown by 80% in cost, and most of that has fallen on working class taxpayers forced to pay more. That is why I have announced that a Canada First Conservative government will cut income taxes by 15% so you bring home more of each dollar you earn. We will cut taxes on investment. Investment is what it takes to make things move. Capital goes where capital grows. So in Canada today, in an hour of work, we produce about 52 American dollars of GDP. In the States, they produce 80 American dollars per hour worked. That means they could work about a third less and make just as much as us. Why is that? We have better workers, harder workers, but why are we making less money? The answer is we have less tools and technology. You take the total investment in our economy, divide it by the total number of workers, it works out to about $15,000 US. In the States, it's $28,000. So you have two workers side by side. Let's say they both shovel snow. One guy on the Canadian side, he's got a small little hand shovel. On the American side, he starts with the same shovel. But the next year, the American gets a much bigger shovel, and the Canadian guy still has a small one. And on the American side, the next year, he gets a big snowblower, and the Canadian still got a small shovel. And on the south side of the border the next year, he gets a big tractor with a big shovel on the front, and the Canadian's still heaving away using muscular power. After a while, the American starts to get pretty far ahead. We have less investment in Canada because our taxes are high and our red tape is brutal. And there is an enormous incentive to send money out of the country. For example, Mark Carney stuffed his corporate cash in Bermuda because he didn't have to pay taxes there. So many other companies move their money abroad for the same reason. We're going to make it advantageous to bring the money home, starting with allowing you to put an extra $5,000 in your tax-free savings account as long as the money goes to Canadian companies. Canadian-only companies. Second, there's the capital gains tax. When a small businessman sells at the end of his career, he has to pay this big tax. Or if you imagine a factory, a manufacturing company has some vacant land, they want to sell it to a home builder who will build homes with it. But as soon as they sell the land, they have to pay the tax, meaning they don't go ahead with the sale. So there's no transaction, there's no homes built, and there's no money for the factory to invest in a new assembly line or a CNC machine. And so the investment never occurs. This tax seizes up our economy and locks out investment. And that is why I have announced that we will put Canada first by allowing you to pay no capital gains tax if you reinvest all the money in Canada. Now, you take the money out of Canada, you pay the capital gains tax. You want to go buy a boat and sit on the lake? Well, nothing wrong with that, but you have to pay the tax. But if instead you sell your investment but reinvest it in Canadian home building, Canadian factories, a Canadian company that builds pipelines, digs mines, and creates jobs in this country, then you will be able to do it tax-free. We will also encourage the companies that have shipped their money abroad to bring it home. This will be like rocket fuel that will launch our economy above the Americans, make us strong and independent and self-reliant. Bring it home. Bring it home. And then there's taxes on energy. The Liberals have brought in a crippling, job-killing, inflationary carbon tax that has driven up the cost of everything you buy. Now, up until about 3 weeks ago, they told us that the entire planet would be lit ablaze with fire if there were no tax on you filling up your minivan, right? So they've had this carbon tax in place for 7 years. The carbon tax law is still in place. But tomorrow, the Liberals are going to hide the carbon tax from the gas pump until the election is over. Mr. Carney, Canadians are not stupid. They know exactly what you're doing. You're hiding the tax until after the election, and if, God forbid, Mr. Carney and the Liberals were elected for a 4th time, they would slap that tax back on, raise it higher than ever before, and cancel the rebate that was supposed to go along with it. Furthermore, he has said that he wants to, this is part he's been honest about, he wants to raise, well, in fairness, Mark Carney has not been in the country for most of his adult life, so he's had 3 passports up until recently. But he's admitted that he wants to bring in a much bigger industrial carbon tax on steel, on lumber, on aluminum, on fertilizer, on all the other industrial products that we need to survive as a modern civilization. But he doesn't think you're smart enough to know that it will all be passed on to you in lower wages and higher prices. And this is some area where he's got a lot in common with Donald Trump. Both want to tax Canadian industry. Trump wants to do it with tariffs. Carney wants to do it with a carbon tax. You know, we're talking about fighting Trump on tariffs, and I agree with that. But I'll tell you something, it's even worse when the tariffs and taxes are being put on our businesses by our own government. And so let me be clear. We will put Canada first by axing the carbon tax for everyone, for everything, for good, for real, for a change. Who's ready to axe the tax? Tax. Axe the tax. And we're going to axe the worst tax of all, the inflation tax. Inflation tax. The inflation tax is the worst because it's sneaky and it's undemocratic. Sneaky because when governments want to spend money they don't have without telling you how they're going to pay for it, or borrowing it out in the open, what they do is print cash. They fire up the printing machines and flood the economy with easy money. Now, our money supply in bills, coins, and bank deposits went from about $1.8 trillion to $2.5 trillion in the span of about 4 years. This was while Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. He said that the biggest concern at the time was, quote, deflation. Mr. Carney said that the risk was prices might go down. Wouldn't that be terrible if you had to pay less for food and housing, if your dollar actually gained more value than it lost? And so he said, let's print money like crazy, and it will be like magical wealth that fell from the sky. Well, for those who get their hands on that money first, the bureaucracy, the bankers, the financial insiders, it is like money from the sky. They get to spend and invest it before it loses its value. But the problem is that when the value is gone, everyone else has to pay more for what's left. It's like if you have an economy with 10 apples and $10. It's $1 an apple. But if you double the number of dollars to 20 and you still only have 10 apples, you're not twice as rich. It's just that each apple now costs twice as much. Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. That is inflation. How do you like them apples? So it's the second reason that it is it's the worst tax is because it's undemocratic. We have a principle in our system 800 years old, going right back to the fields of Runnymede in England when they signed the Magna Carta, the Great Charter, which is there shall be no taxation without the representation of the people paying it. They have to vote for it. But there is no vote in the House of Commons on the inflation tax. It's done in shady back rooms by insiders and bankers, and everyone else pays the price with no accountability. They assume that it's the local grocer who raised the food prices or the local gas station who raised the price at the pump, when in fact it's actually the government that caused all of it. And the third reason it's the worst tax is because it takes money from the working people's paychecks and gives it in inflated asset values to the billionaires and millionaires. It's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. And that is the war in the working class that we have seen during the lost Liberal decade. Now, the money printing and the inflation is simply the symptom. The disease is overspending. Government that has grown beyond our means, spending on things we do not need and did not ask for. As a result, Conservatives will cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, foreign aid, and other waste to bring down the deficit and bring down inflation. So that your money retains its value, and that a dollar earned can turn into a dollar spent, that your money should grow in its purchasing power when we have solid and sound money. And that should be able to buy homes again. After the lost Liberal decade, housing costs have literally doubled. And today, Mark Carney doubled down on Justin Trudeau's housing policy. He announced that the solution to the Liberal housing crisis is to create a $35 billion bureaucracy in Ottawa. Have you ever seen bureaucrats building homes? They've already spent $80 billion on their so-called affordable housing programs, which have doubled the cost of housing. Whenever I ask them about why housing has got so expensive under them, they say, don't worry, we've created really expensive programs to pay for it. So now you're paying more to buy a home and paying more taxes for the programs that drive up the cost. He is actually, and of course, Brookfield, Carney's company, in which he's still invested, has abused the tenants, leaving them and living in miserable conditions and doing false rent evictions to kick them out on the street. A man who profits off the housing crisis will never fix the housing crisis. Good point. There you go. She's a very smart lady. A very smart lady over there indeed. And so the solution, you know, the reason why is housing costs so expensive in Canada? We have the land, the labor, the lumber. It should be dirt cheap because we have the most dirt to build on. But yet, our housing has gone up faster than in any other G7 country during the lost Liberal decade. In fact, Toronto and Vancouver are now the most expensive markets in anywhere in North America. Canada's housing costs have outstripped incomes more than in any other OECD country over the last lost Liberal decade. Now, what's driving them up? It's government bureaucracy. More money from a new home goes to taxes, delays, permits, charges, consultants, lawyers, than goes to the people who actually build the homes. Can you imagine? A bureaucrat gets more money from a new home than does the carpenter who builds it. And to add insult to injury, the carpenter cannot afford to buy the home that he builds. So, we're going to reverse that policy. We're going to cut the bureaucracy and the taxes.
We're going to pull out of this.
Canada First Conservatives will eliminate the federal sales tax on new homes.
Okay, so we'll have plenty of Pierre Poilievre. That's even more time than Carney had tonight, and more time than Jagmeet Singh will have because his speech was brief and did not get the same kind of crowds that we're seeing for the other two leaders. Oops, hang on. I messed up. Let me get this queued. Here we go. Okay, I think we're ready. So yes, let's bring up Jagmeet Singh. And he has been out in British Columbia. Just finished up a little bit of a stop in Victoria, not giving a speech, but this was him earlier in the day, also talking about home retrofits. There we go.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you can just tell why we need to elect these incredible fighters. These are the folks who are going to stand up for you. These are the folks who are going to be your voice in Ottawa. So you got a sense of the team that we have here in the south part of the island. You got to elect these folks to send them to Ottawa to fight for you. We are up against a serious challenge, as Laurel was talking about. You know, we've got real threats. The climate crisis is real. We're experiencing it. And we also have some serious threats from Donald Trump, who's attacking our country. And the way we win this fight against the threats of Donald Trump is not by making Canada more like the United States. That's not how we do this. The way we win this fight is by doubling down on who we are as a country, by doubling down on the values that make us who we are. We believe in taking care of each other. It's a Canadian value. It's why we have things like healthcare. We also believe in taking care of our country, taking care of the land, the air and the water. Protecting our environment is what makes us Canadian as well. So when we fight back against Donald Trump, we got to fight back by defending what is dear to us, what is true to who we are. And so today we're talking about our plan to defend our environment, to protect our country. Here is just some of the first steps that we would take as a New Democrat government. We would remove the carbon tax, the consumer carbon tax, and take off that burden from everyday families. But we would make sure big polluters pay their share. This is very important. And one of the things that we want to do, and part of the plan I want to talk about today, is the fact that your hard-earned public money is being given to highly profitable oil and gas companies. They're receiving massive subsidies every year. That has to end. New Democrats would once and for all end those subsidies. They must end. And we would use that money instead of giving it to highly profitable oil and gas companies. Instead, we would give supports to everyday families. because that's who we're in it for. We're not in it for the billionaires like the other parties. We're in it for you and your family. So we would cancel those subsidies and use that money to give everyday families the ability to retrofit their homes, to lower their energy costs, to save them money and reduce their emissions. That's a plan that works for people, not for the billionaires.
Okay. And we're going to end it there because he's really just repeating his campaign points. And we'll hear that plenty of times again in the days and weeks ahead as we get closer to Election Day. We are on the cusp of Liberation Day. Tomorrow, tariffs supposed to take effect. As that happens, we are seeing, here, I'll show you the headline tonight. Canadian and American unions urging U.S. senators to vote to overturn Trump's tariffs. Here it is. This is CTV with this version of the story. Unions on both sides of the border are calling on American senators to vote in favor of legislation to overturn U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. The U.S. Senate is expected to vote tomorrow on a joint resolution led by Democrat Senator Tim Kaine that would terminate the national emergency Trump declared in order to justify 25% tariffs on most imports from Canada. In separate letters to U.S. senators, the Canadian Labour Congress and the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations are calling for the tariff measures to be terminated to avoid unnecessary economic pain for workers and businesses on both sides of the border. And so this union letter says that while the national emergency declaration attempts to justify tariffs by alleging that Canada is not doing enough to halt the illicit flow of fentanyl, it says here, quote, Canada is not the problem. And that is the truth. It is not the problem on the U.S. side of the border. Not to say we don't have a drug problem like every other country. To varying degrees, Canada certainly has a drug problem, but we are not the problem for the United States. The stats don't bear that out. The numbers don't lie. The Canadian Labour Congress's letter says that nearly 8 million U.S. jobs are tied to trade with Canada, and the American tariffs will create additional upward pressure on consumer prices. And it says earlier this month, Trump hit Canada and Mexico with 25% across the board duties, with a lower 10% levy on Canadian energy. Only two later partially paused the tariffs until April 2nd, which is not tomorrow, but the next day. And so we're just on the cusp of that. Liberation Day coming. So a little bit of time left. I don't know where this is going. And I showed you that fact sheet on the auto tariffs. And if that holds true, then these tariffs aren't even real. But will Trump honor the USMCA deal and the guidelines laid out in the fact sheet? I kind of have my doubts because he changes his mind every 10 minutes on these things. So where are we at? What's all this going to mean when these tariffs finally hit this week? Well, I think we're going to see higher prices for some fruits and vegetables. That's what's being reported tonight. But it means that it's higher prices for American fruits and vegetables. So I think you're going to see stores probably not buy as many fruits and vegetables from the U.S. You'll see more from places like Mexico, Costa Rica, Chile, just other countries. What the impact on cars is going to be, I think it's all still very much up in the air. Really hard to say at this point. I doubt that even Trump knows for sure what all this is going to look like later this week. But it obviously has a lot of people worried. Now, Kevin O'Leary, they call him a Canadian businessman, but he doesn't live so much in Canada anymore. He's more on the American side these days. He is still popping up in media talking about this whole 51st state thing, talking about tariffs. And here he is on Fox Business News again. It's interesting, this is a guy who has financial interests in all of this on both sides of the border, mostly on the US side, I would say. And his voice is, I would say, much louder than just about anybody else's. And he's not elected, but here he is again, being given the platform over on Fox.
And it certainly feels like Canada and the U.S.'s relationship has changed in a big way. We did a story earlier in the show about how Canadians are selling real estate in Florida right now.
The anti-U.S. rhetoric is being stirred up by Carney because his party devastated the country over the last 10 years. And the only way he can stay in power is to convince people he's the solution against Trump. So the rhetoric has never been hotter. And of course, he's 5 weeks away from an election. So he'll stir the pot any way he can. But let's not forget where Carney came from. He is a global elitist. He's a supporter of carbon taxes. He said he'll remove them from consumers, but he's going to double down on business in Canada. And that decimated. You got to remember, Canada actually only grew under the Liberal Party 1.4% in 10 years. The economy's wiped out. One of the reasons Canadians can't go to Florida is his party wiped out the value of the dollar, down 41%. Canadians can't afford to go to Disneyland anymore. So Carney's doing it the very best he can to say, look, I will save you against Trump. And he throws the rhetoric out every day against him, a man named Pierre Poilievre, who's also trying to be elected as a conservative. They're both in a crazy rhetoric, an anti-American rhetoric that will go away the minute this election's over. He will get on a plane, whoever wins, fly to Washington, and start working on what I call NAFTA 3, which is the right thing to do. I might add that Senator Kennedy in Louisiana gave an eloquent presentation about why tariffs between Canada and the United States should be zero. I listened to it. It made a whole lot of sense to me, and I think it'll make a lot of sense to the Canadian people as well as soon as this election is over. Will Carney win? Who knows? But he's backtracked like crazy on all the Liberal parties. Whether people trust him or not will be the determination, because he certainly was he advised Trudeau for the last 5 years. And so the idiot king is gone, but is Carney any better? Nobody knows yet.
So, look, I just don't like it when people lie. Okay? You don't need to lie. Things are bad enough. I've said that many times. What he said is like there are lies slipped in all through it. Yeah, they're going to renegotiate the trade deal. NAFTA 3, he calls it. USMCA under the first Trump administration was negotiated to replace the North American Free Trade Agreement. Trump said it was the best deal ever. Now he says it's the worst deal ever. It's Trump who has violated the terms of the USMCA by imposing these tariffs using a national emergency as the pretext for that. It's not even clear. In fact, I'm pretty much sure that if you think about it, you'd already forgotten about the fentanyl issue being the justification for all of this, because he keeps coming up with different justifications. And he's not even talking about fentanyl being the main issue now. It was like immigration, border security, Canada's ripping us off. Now we're not ripping the US off. Now we might not even really have auto tariffs. His Secretary of Commerce, Letnick, told Premier Ford that no Canadian auto plants will be closing. He assured Ford of that. It's all crazy. Now, here's O'Leary saying that all the rhetoric is going to go away and they're just going to go down and renegotiate this trade deal. That may well be the case, but I will point out that Melanie Joly, Foreign Affairs Minister, did say that the government has previously offered to go to the bargaining table early. They didn't want to wait. Our government didn't want to wait, even when Trudeau was still in power. So that's still Trump. That's not Canada. And I'm not trying to play partisan politics here at all or defend the liberals or anything like that. I'm just trying to be honest and truthful. I don't think Kevin O'Leary is being honest, especially when he says that the Canadian economy only grew 1.4% in total in the past 10 years. That is not accurate at all. You might get away with saying that on average over the past decade, under the Trudeau Liberals, the economy grew on average 1.4% per year. And you have to remember that during the pandemic, we went into negative growth. We actually, the economy shrunk because of the lockdowns and the decline in economic activity, where the economy shrunk by about 5% in one of those years. And then we've made up for that to some degree since then. Overall, the truth of the matter is the economy in Canada has grown somewhere probably around 12, maybe 14% over the past decade in total, not 1.4%. It's just not accurate. He knows that, but it sounds better. Yeah. And it just hits the Liberals harder when he says 1.4%. And then he can come back and say, well, it was a slip of the tongue or a misrepresentation, a minor mistake. No, that's a pretty major mistake. That's pretty major. It's not a mistake. It's him playing games. It's spin. There's an election on. You're going to get it on all sides. I just don't like the falsehoods. It doesn't serve the people well. How are you supposed to make an informed decision as a voter and go to the polls and make a good decision if the information you're being given is not truthful, honest, factual, information delivered with some degree of integrity? There's no integrity there. And it's an important decision right now. It truly is, because the country is facing an existential threat. Make no mistake, this is a very real threat. This is not a game. And we can't afford to have people who have financial interests that they are not obligated in any way to disclose to the public, Kevin O'Leary, influencing public opinion and influencing the way people will go to the polls, how people will vote. He's not elected. He's a business guy. He has big money interests. Went down to Mar-a-Lago with Danielle Smith, met with Trump, talked about pipelines, talked about his desire to buy TikTok with some investors, talked about establishing an AI research facility up in Alberta, which will require a lot of energy. I also know that about a year ago, he said that he wants to build and is going to build an oil refinery worth $14 billion, but not in Canada, in the United States. Where do you think the oil for that refinery is going to flow from? Well, one might speculate. And so I have to ask, does Kevin O'Leary have a conflict of interest in this regard? Just asking. Where's his financial disclosure? Now, this is a guy with some money and friends with money, and he's down there meeting with the gangsta, the OG, kissing the ring, making a deal. Let's fly on down to Mar-a-Lago and make a deal. Let's make a deal. Here's talk about foreign influence. You don't have to look very far. Just look across the border, or maybe just look right inside our own country and start asking yourself, who's influencing this influencer? And it's not just Kevin O'Leary. I've seen in the past 24 hours, some influencers have a conniption fit because it was announced that there was going to be this news conference today involving this committee issuing a report and having a news conference about foreign interference. I saw a couple of influencers, Canadian influencers, freak out. It was like they were trying to get out in front of it, and they were trying to discredit it right from the very beginning, which is like, why are you so concerned? What's your interest in this, that you're so tuned in to the committee that's about to have a news conference about foreign interference that you feel compelled to come out and start slamming it even before they reveal the information that's in the report? Isn't it in our interests in the public interest, to have this information revealed? If there is an investigation, and there has been, don't you want to know? But before you even know what's in the report, you're saying don't listen to it, basically. Well, this is what they had to say today as they kicked this news conference off.
My name is Kyle Matthews. I'm Executive Director of the Montreal Institute for Global Security. We're very pleased to be here at the Parliament today to launch a report looking at foreign interference, disinformation, and transnational repression. Canada, over the past few years, has seen increasingly more governments engage in its electoral process to try to switch certain or support certain candidates for other foreign countries' interests. We've seen an increasing rise of authoritarian states collaborate and spread disinformation in our society, both on and offline. And we've also seen an increasing number of authoritarian states engage in transnational repression, including, I would highlight, our friend Aubrey Cottle, a former Attorney General and Minister of Canada, who's been under 24-hour RCMP protection because of threats to his life by the government of Iran. So this is a serious issue in Canada. As an open society, as a democracy, we have to realize that there are nefarious actors out there that are taking advantage of our democracy and have interest in splintering society, and they're pursuing different policies that are against the interests of the Canadian government and the will of the Canadian people. So we're very pleased today to launch this report that was done with support of the Canadian government, of Heritage Canada, and I'd like to pass the floor to Wesley Warwick, the author of the report.
Thanks, Kyle. I guess the first thing I'll say, and it may sound a little self-interested, but it really isn't meant to be that way. I just would encourage people to read the report. The intention behind the report, we call it a playbook, was really to try and help Canadians who are interested in this issue, and hopefully many are, especially in an election period, to kind of navigate through all the words that have been written and spoken about foreign interference, disinformation, transnational repression since really the fall of 2022, when this became a sudden matter of interest to the media because of some fairly sensational leaks of classified information that was then, that began a political media firestorm. Initially focused, of course, on foreign interference conducted by the People's Republic of China. And in particular, I thought what might be of interest really going forward, we've, of course, had Justice Hogue's final report from the public inquiry into foreign interference, which was issued in January. It looks like a dauntingly large report. It's 7 volumes, it's 800 pages, but the reality is that there's really only one volume, the overview volume, that people, I think, really need to pay attention to. The recommendations are there, the arguments are made in that one volume. And that final report from the public inquiry, I think, really does serve as a kind of capstone to a lot of this discussion that we've been having in public about the implications of foreign interference, threats to Canadian democracy, and in particular the relationship between foreign interference as it impacts on electoral processes and our democratic ways, the links between that and transnational repression. And so I just say a word about that because there has been, in the aftermath of Justice Hogue's report, there's been some, I think, understandable criticism and controversy around how Justice Hogue handled specifically the issue of transnational repression. She had lots to say, of course, about the challenges of foreign interference writ large. She had some important things to say about future threats, really, posed in the online space through disinformation, but had less to say about how all these things link to transnational repression. And the argument, of course, that she made was that, it wasn't really in her terms of reference to deal with that issue. And I take that argument. But nevertheless, there was an element to her terms of reference which required her to look at the kinds of protections and supports that the federal government can provide to communities who might find themselves targeted by transnational repression in the context of our concern about maintaining democratic processes and having free and fair elections. So some of the report digs into that element, and it may be relevant to this group of speakers in particular. And I think what I would draw from my own reading of all of this reporting that's been done over the last many years is one kind of fairly stark conclusion, which is that for all the attention paid to transnational repression by the federal government, by government agencies, the message at the end of the day, I think it's fair to say, is that, well, we can provide you with some guidance, we can provide you with some tools, we can provide you with some information, but it's up to you, that by you meaning diaspora communities, it's up to you to really take this information on board and decide how you can best use it. If that's an appropriate conclusion, I think it is not the way forward for the federal government and its national security responsibilities and how it exercises them. And towards the conclusion of this report, and I'll really just end on these points, towards the conclusion of this report, I really suggest that there are essentially four things that, broad baskets of reforms that really need to take place. And some of these really just follow on from Justice Hogue's report, and some of them are a little different in terms of their emphasis. One of the strong criticisms, of course, that Justice Hogue had when she looked back at how the government had responded to or understood foreign interference from 2018 on to 2024, so really a 6-year period. One of the strong conclusions she reached was that the government had not been sufficiently transparent with Canadians about the nature of foreign interference threat and how it's manifest, including through transnational repression, and that any future government would have to do much better on that front to tell Canadians in a systematic way about the evolving nature of this threat. So transparency was a big theme.
Okay, we've heard this before. I'm going to flip over here and go to Catherine Leung of Hong Kong Watch and get those comments rolling. Here we go.
This is stage.
Catherine Leung, Hong Kong Watch.
Thank you, Kyle. Transnational repression takes many forms. It could be anything from harassing comments online to threatening emails, to threats on one's life, or even arrest warrants and bounties. And it can be perpetrated by individual actors or a foreign government. What they have in common, however, is that these actions are done to silence an individual for the benefit of a foreign state. This weekend, we saw an example of transnational repression, something that is so unthinkable for an incumbent MP to take part in, that brought into question whether elected officials take seriously the threat of transnational repression and foreign interference. To be clear, this is a parliamentarian suggesting to the public at a community event that a political opponent should be taken into custody at the Chinese consulate and handed over to a foreign regime that has shown no mercy for its opposition. This cannot stand in Canada. To effectively counter foreign interference and transnational repression, we need to take a zero-tolerance approach. The Government of Canada needs to show, in no uncertain terms, that any acts of foreign interference, whether it be electoral or seeking to harm an individual, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We will detect it, intercept it, and perpetrators will be brought to justice. Regardless of political affiliations, I am sure the news out of this weekend shocked Canadians. The issue of foreign interference and transnational repression cannot be one that divides Canadians along partisan lines. This is an issue not only of human rights, but of national security and sovereignty. If we cannot protect Canadians on Canadian soil from foreign actors seeking to intimidate, silence, or harm, we do not exercise any meaningful sovereignty over our territory. The impacts go far beyond just the individuals that are targeted. When a community sees this, what happens are two things. First, they see that there are consequences to speaking out, that even though they are in a country where freedom of expression is legally protected, an adversarial foreign state can seek to harm them for their speech. Second, when they see that their government is not standing behind the targeted individual, it brings into question whether, if they themselves are targeted, whether they can rely on their elected officials to do the right thing and protect not only them, but our Canadian values of freedom, democracy, and human rights. There is a lot of work to be done on countering transnational repression, and this report comes at a very timely moment. Thank you.
Can't disagree with anything she said myself. And again, my radar goes up when I see people running defense on something that they haven't even read yet. Like, what have you been doing that you feel compelled to come out and try and discredit a report you haven't even read yet? You might take note of that yourself. We have more after this.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Just took a quick look in the chat, and people in the one channel defending Kevin O'Leary, I guess. Yeah, I acknowledge that 1 to 2% growth is not really where you want to be. Would be better if we could get up to 4 or 5%, 1.5 per year, 2%. Not that great. On the U.S. side, they've been hitting, I think, over the past decade. Well, certainly during the Biden administration, you were in around 2.3, 2.4% per year. 1.4, 1.5. But again, keep in mind that that's an average, and some years were higher than that, compensating, making up for lost ground because of the pandemic as well on the Canadian side. So I'm sorry, Kevin O'Leary lied. Okay, he just lied. So you can make excuses for him if you want. That's up to you. Now, that being said, as I look in the chat, I should just make note that there is a new mod at the request of many people, moderator, an anonymous moderator. I am trying to take a hands-off approach again to all of this moderation, but because some things, I guess some people have been saying, have been getting a little bit maybe out of hand in the chat, just be aware that there is a moderator in there, and there have been some community guidelines drawn up, and they were in the beginning of the program on a graphic on the screen, so you can find them there. And they are also on some of the channels where the number of characters was not exceeded by the rules for posting. So where I was able to put those in tonight, you can find the community guidelines for the chat and, of course, even the call-in portion of the program, just about the code of conduct, essentially, for all Mavericks participating here. So take note of those and behave yourselves, or the new mod might enforce the rules of conduct. And yeah, the problem here is that, yeah, I have been extremely lenient, really from the beginning of this channel being resurrected, this platform, because I do believe in free speech. So I've been very reluctant to ban people at all. But as soon as I've said that, some people who have been malicious have come in and they have tried very hard to force censorship. So the rules, I think, strike a balance. And by striking that balance, I think what we're really doing is preserving everyone's free speech by trying to avoid having people come in and just scream at the top of their lungs like they're having an intervention at some event, going, ah, so that nobody can talk, or trying to dominate. Anyway, the rules are the rules. Go check them out and then proceed at your own risk. And I'm going to try and stay out of the whole thing. But I will duck in from time to time just to say hello and acknowledge people like Angel Heart 10729, hello, and Lindy, hello, and Dragon, yeah. He says, been watching on TV while charging phone, but my time to make jokes and be kick. He says, LOL, I'm joking or kidding. Yeah. And be careful there, Angel Heart, posting links, because that's one of the things I think that is in the community guidelines. So there are rules about that. And you over there, Jefferson, said it best. You watch your P's and Q's too, sir. And Johnny, I see you in there too. Hello, Johnny, from Toronto. And what else do we have going on here tonight? Oh, yes, the markets. Since we're talking about the economy and tariffs and growth. Yeah, I don't know. I saw that Financial Post link. I don't know exactly what the story was that Angel Heart was sharing in the chat. No doubt, recession is absolutely a concern, not just for Canada, but for the United States. And that's because right now, because of the tariffs. Everybody's worried about the tariffs, and that is Trump. 2 of the 3 major U.S. stock indexes just posted their worst quarter in over 2 years, and the third barely escaped the same fate. As of today's close, the S&P 500 dropped more than 4.5% for the first quarter of 2025, while the tech-packed NASDAQ took a bigger hit, plunging 10.4%. I made notes just before we came on. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.3%, making its first back-to-back monthly loss since October of 23. This whole slump comes just days before Trump unveils a new round of these sweeping tariffs, adding to months of trade policy chaos that's left investors on edge. This isn't good for growth. This is going to result in contraction. Certainly initially, the S&P 500 briefly slipped into correction territory today, a 10% drop from its last peak before recovering slightly. Still, it couldn't avoid its worst monthly decline since December of 2022. The NASDAQ, meanwhile, erased over half its gains from last year, with Wall Street's Magnificent Seven, think Amazon, Apple, Tesla, losing a combined $2 trillion in market value since January. I'm not even talking about Tesla. I think Elon Musk's company has lost something in excess of 40% of its value. The last time markets stumbled this hard was mid-2022 after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That rocked the global economy, and this time it's U.S. policy shifts since Inauguration Day, causing all this chaos, all this upheaval. The S&P's first quarter performance was its weakest against global markets since 1980. Well, U.S. stocks struggled. Europe's Euro Stoxx 600 and the UK's FTSE 100 both climbed 5%. And China's MSCI index soared 16%, fueled by local stimulus and AI excitement. Japan, though, not so lucky. Its main index sank 10% amid fears of Trump's tariff plans. Speaking of tariffs, the president is set to roll out what he's calling these reciprocal trade barriers Wednesday, dubbing it America's Liberation Day, as I've already mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Liberation from unfair trade practices. But he can't even get that story straight. One day saying Canada's ripping off the United States, subsidizing Canada with $350 billion in subsidies. Not true. All the details, though, are still unclear even as we head into Liberation Day. It isn't even really clear to me what's going to happen with these auto tariffs. Businesses, consumers, all bracing for impact. Nearly 900 companies flagged tariffs as a concern on recent earnings calls, and one manufacturing exec has come out today telling the media, quote, "This is truly ridiculous. I've never seen such uncertainty in 50 years. Probably longer, maybe ever. This is just total insanity. It's chaos. Nobody can plan for anything. You want degrowth? This is one way to get it. This is a great way to crash the economy, frankly. I hope he stabilizes things. I don't want that to happen. I'm not happy about it. I want Trump to be successful in a way that benefits not just the United States, but everybody, including Canada, Mexico, the whole world. But some analysts see a light at the end of the tunnel, I guess. Once the tariff announcement hits tomorrow, negotiations could soften the blow, and progress on a budget bill might shift focus back to Trump's market-friendly goals. And who knows, maybe those union leaders will have some effect on what happens and some influence over what happens with the Senate. And maybe a lot of this stuff will be overturned. Maybe all of it. I don't know. It's all very uncertain right now. You know what else is uncertain? Whether Trump is going to stick around for a third term. He keeps talking about it, and there's this whole movement afoot, an organized movement, frankly. We're seeing this whole thing, and he says, yeah, he's looking at the possibility of a third term. Could he serve a third term? Well, some say no, but he says he's not joking. He said this, yesterday, he said he's not joking, quote, about serving a third term. And in that interview that he gave to NBC News, he said there are methods that could allow it to happen. And it's turning into a bit of a constitutional question, if not crisis. We shall see. We do know that the way the Constitution is written right now, it prohibits that. But some people want to do an end run around it. And because Trump has managed to purge so much of his political opposition from the administrative ranks of the government and even the legislative ranks, he's just giving himself more and more and more and more power. And, you know, as I sit and think about these people who advocate for joining the United States because they say the Canadian system is undemocratic and we're not even a real country, I'm looking at the United States and I'm looking at the level of democracy down there. And you will have people who love their country in the United States tell you that the United States is not a democracy. In fact, they are quite accurate. As the Republic of the United States is not a democracy, and I would say it's not very democratic either. Certainly not with the way Donald Trump has managed to accumulate power and push his political opponents out to assert power of the power of the presidency through all levels of government, circumventing the influence and the authority of other levels of government. I'm not even sure the Senate could stand in Donald Trump's way tomorrow if they try to with these tariffs. Maybe, but good luck. And I look at what Trump has done and what every administration does, frankly. Look at what happened with that signal call. Who's on it? How many of those people are elected? None. Is Pete Hegseth elected? Nope. Appointed. SecDev. Is Tulsi Gabbard elected? Nope. She didn't get elected. Waltz elected? Appointed. All these people appointed. Massive amounts of power. That's not the way the system works. And yet they get to make all these decisions. Oh, they were involved in campaigns, and Tulsi Gabbard, at one point, a Democrat, trying to, she was seeking the leadership of the Democrat Party to be the presidential nominee, failed, ended up going over to the Trump camp, just like RFK Jr., also not elected. Described the other day, I saw an interview with Kyle Kemper, who was very involved in the RFK Jr. presidential bid with his Independence Party, describing Elon Musk, RFK Jr. as the president of healthcare. And I thought, president of healthcare? Who voted for RFK Jr.? Nobody. And yet he has all this power over there and responsibility. But some people handle the responsibility better than others. And I would say Pete Hegseth, maybe not so great at handling responsibility. A bit of a hothead, this guy. This was him on Sunday. Let me play you this clip. Some people will applaud this, but I'm very uncomfortable with the tone. It's not even just the message, it's the tone. It's the tone. Yeah, let's listen to him on Sunday.
Hey everybody, Pete Hegseth here. We're about to land in Washington, D.C. on our way back from Japan, where we've been meeting with the troops, talking to allies and partners, reestablishing deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. It's Sunday, but of course we're still working. I want to show you one thing. It's a new memorandum that's coming out today on combat arms standards. You see, for far too long, we allowed standards to slip, and different standards for men and women in combat arms MOSs and jobs. That's not acceptable. We need to have the same standard, male or female, in our combat roles to ensure our men and women who are under our leaders or in those formations have the best possible leaders and the highest possible standards that are not based at all on your sex, if you're a man or a woman. So I'm signing this memorandum today. The services will review, and soon we will have nothing but the highest and equal standards for men and women in combat.
Or else get with the program, worm. Macho man. He's like a comic book character. And here he is. Here he is. I guess he found himself a worm. Where is he? This is him in in Japan. Before he flew back, he made this dude, made this worm squirm. Drop and give me 50. Worm. Macho man. I got to be a macho man. Macho Man. Okay. Worm. I don't know. This guy has he has F-35s, tanks, bazookas, hand grenades, nuclear weapons, signal.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Marine Le Pen. Yeah, gonna get a little video action happening here for you. I have to find the right clip. I had it lined up. Here she is. Oh, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard the word Marine Le Pen. So a lot of buttons to click just to get one clip up. Here she is. She's found guilty. Embezzlement. I'm going to turn the audio down on this. Yeah. So what she did here, I'm going to recue this. So she was found guilty in a French court of misusing EU funds to pay staff from her party, the National Rally Party, between 2004 and 2016. And she has, because of the conviction, she's been barred from running for office in the next election in 2027. And so it says, Le Pen and 24 other officials from the RN are accused of having used money intended for European Union parliamentary aids to pay staff who worked for the party between 2004 and 2016 in violation of the 27 nation bloc's regulations. And they deny any wrongdoing, of course. And did they do something wrong? Well, you're not supposed to use the money for your party to basically do campaign work or work for your political purposes. The money is supposed to be used for administrative work to administer government, you see, for your staff to do government work, not party work. There's a difference. It's this similar rules even here in Canada. You're not supposed to use government money to pay like campaign workers to further your political campaign. If you're elected to office, you have people working in government. You have a government office and you're supposed to do the work for the public, for the people, to administer your government activities, not your party activities. So that's the allegation. Well, the conviction. So found guilty of that. Of course, a lot of people seeing this through a partisan lens and saying, oh, it's all, it's politically motivated. again, it depends on your point of view and which side you're on, I guess. I'm inclined to believe that, yeah, they probably use the money improperly. And they probably are guilty. And because they're politicians, they are politicians. And politicians often do things like that. It was, what was it? It was $2.9 million, something in that range. And the money was spread out among a number of party members. It was the equivalent of, I think, 2.9 million. Anyway, we'll see how that rules out. I believe there is an appeal process that she is likely to take advantage of. But even as the appeal proceeds, I think that it will likely be dragged out. And no doubt her political opponents will use it as a tool, probably to prevent her from running in the next election. So they'll have to bring another leader forward. I don't know. When these kinds of things happen, they always, I don't know why, people in politics don't see this. When you squeeze a political opponent like this, it generally backfires and you get the opposite effect. You might think that you're holding them back or preventing them from moving forward. In reality, by doing that, you tend to help them, because then they're martyred and they can point to it and say, look at me, or the government's oppressing me. It's a mistake, generally speaking. Now, if they're legitimately guilty, they're legitimately guilty. And so, but even if they're legitimately guilty, because they really were held accountable, then by holding them accountable, the people who support them tend to just overlook the reality of it and dismiss the crime, which isn't healthy either. And that's not proper. Politics is a messy business, isn't it? As I say, it's a blood sport. And here's Kid Rock in his blood red, white, and blue, super patriotic Kid Rock roll suit, I guess. Very colorful suit as he's in the Oval Office with Trump signing, I guess it's another executive order, since, why rule in a democratic process when you have a Sharpie? You can pass a new law. This one is aimed at, I think, probably in a positive way, dealing with the issue of scalping tickets for rock concert tickets.
Bob, you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody it doesn't matter your politics. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows it is a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for it, but more importantly, these bots. They come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, a hero to the working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen.
So maybe we will. Love the suit. Everything with this Trump administration feels like reality TV, doesn't it? It just does not stop. Now, what else do we have tonight? Aubrey Cottle. You remember the guy who hacked into the Give, Send, Go during the Freedom Convoy? Well, Aubrey Cottle has been arrested. I meant to mention this the other night. I'm a little behind the curve on this. It's not that I didn't know. I was aware. We just kept running out of time and so much other news going on. I just didn't get to it. And it is actually not only an interesting story, but I think an important story. Let me show you Aubrey Cottle again, just in case you forgot who the guy is. He is someone who claims to be a co-founder of Anonymous and a professional hacker, lives in Oshawa, Ontario, but has had his cyber hacking skills, his tentacles into the internet all over the world, and certainly into the United States.
Sometimes people just don't want to fucking accept the wisdom that you're trying to give to them. And that shit, it fucks with you. It does.
He's colorful character, nice outfit. He's unusual.
I am a cautionary tale.
I just don't know. What is this guy? Like,
And sometimes I can't even help myself.
okay.
Though, unlike some people I know, at least I'm self-aware enough about it.
Right.
And on the other end of the spectrum, at least I'm not too much of a fucking coward to not do everything that I possibly can to try and help things. Because I can tell you, I know a hell of a lot of old school cowards. And they're all terrified of me. I don't blame them.
I'm terrified of you, dude.
But they are.
I am. I'm very terrified of you. Please stay away from me. I don't want you anywhere near me. Honestly.
And that includes my ex-wife.
I can understand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the reason I'm terrified of him is because he probably is a genius. Here's the so this is the guy who hacked into the Give, Send, Go, got the list of donors, released it. Government got a hold of it. Interesting, isn't it, that the government got a hold of it, or CBC, and then it was released to the public, and all the names were made public from the Give, Send, Go donors to the Freedom Convoy. And here he is, named by the United States Attorney's Office, Western District of Texas. The Department of Justice announced the unsealing of charges against Canadian national Aubrey Cottle, 37 years old, of Oshawa, Ontario, in connection with the theft of data relating to the Texas Republican Party in 2021. Canadian authorities arrested Cottle Wednesday, that was last week, and are pursuing charges under Canadian law. A criminal complaint filed in the Western District of Texas alleges Cottle gained unauthorized access to a third-party hosting company's computer system to deface and download a backup of Texas Republican Party's web server, which contained personal identifying information. The information was distributed and made available for download online. Cottle allegedly claimed responsibility for the attack on social media. A search of Cottle's electronic devices revealed he was in possession of the data stolen from the Texas Republican Party. This guy is not joking around, just like Trump. Cottle has been charged with unlawfully transferring, possessing, or using a means of identification with the intent to commit or aid or abet or in connection with unlawful activity under state or federal law. If convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. Acting U.S. Attorney Margaret Leachman for the Western District of Texas made the announcement. The FBI Austin Cyber Task Force is investigating the case with valuable assistance from the Ontario Provincial Police and the Durham Regional Police Service. Assistant U.S. Attorney G. Karthik Srinivasan, there you go, is prosecuting the case. The Justice Department's Office of International Affairs also provided significant assistance. And then it says here, a complaint is merely an allegation, and the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. And it is important to say that these allegations have not yet been proven in a court of law, in a Canadian court of law. And this is also going to be a more complicated case than normal because it involves an international incident and it is political in nature. And it is probably also viewed as something of an issue of national security potentially. And it makes you wonder what else Aubrey Cottle has had his tentacles into, doesn't it? This is a reminder of him bragging about hacking into the Give, Send, Go donor list.
Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked Give, Send, Go, baby. And I'd do it again. I'd do it 100 times. I did it. I did it. Come at me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me, huh? Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked Give, Send, Go, baby.
Oh, jeez. You know, he should just give up on hacking and just get himself a reality TV show. He's colorful. Very entertaining. But I wouldn't want to be in his shoes right now. You know who else's shoes I don't think I'd want to be in? Ashley St. Clair's. Well, maybe might not be so bad. She's pleading poverty. This is Ashley St. Clair. She claims to be the mother of Elon Musk's 13th child. Here's a post from Ashley, a media personality of sorts, influencer, streamer. I guess she was working at the Babylon Bee a few years ago and met Elon Musk, claims that she had a relationship of some sort with him, which he has really not entirely acknowledged. So he hasn't really accepted full responsibility for his alleged baby or responsibility for the baby mama. Ashley says, 5 months ago, I welcomed a new baby into the world. Elon Musk is the father. I have not previously disclosed this to protect our child's privacy and safety, she says, but in recent days, it has become clear the tabloid media intends to do so, regardless of the harm it will cause. I intend to allow our child to grow in a normal and safe environment. For that reason, I ask that the media honor our child's privacy and refrain from invasive reporting. So she posts that. Now, I can also tell you that Elon Musk, even though he has not accepted responsibility for the child, he has provided like money to her. So even though he hasn't fully acknowledged paternity, because he has said on social media that he's not sure if the child is his. Great example, a great unelected, another unelected member of the Trump administration yielding great power wielding great power within the administration with the Department of Getting Even. But he has provided Ashley St. Clair with $2.5 million and an annual payment of $500,000. That's what he's been coughing up. And she wants him to take a DNA test, apparently, but so far that hasn't happened. And now things have deteriorated even further between the two of them. Oh my, a lover's tiff, only worse. Because I don't know, if with that kind of money flying around, Ashley St. Clair is still in a way sort of accusing Elon Musk of being something of a deadbeat dad, because the $500,000 a year that I guess he was saying he was going to cough up, he's scaled that back to some degree, and he gave her a Cybertruck. So here she is trying to hawk it.
I'm selling it because I need to make up for the 60% cut that Elon made to our son's child support.
Why do you think that he did that?
That's a great question for him.
You feel like he was sort of like vindictive against you in some way?
Yeah, that's his modus operandi when women speak out.
When was the last time that you spoke to him or tried to speak to him?
February 13th.
But he's just not responding to you at all? And how would you characterize sort of the way that he's going about
you can check the stocks. I am I'm not the only one
We won't
who's
get you
lining
on
up after his messes.
We're not going to get you.
I thought it was a Cybertruck. I guess it's just a Tesla. It's just, either way, she's trying to sell this thing. His 13th child. Great family guy. And he's got that, and he walks around with X on his shoulders all the time. Oh, he's so cute. Yeah, which child, what number is he? 14? I don't know. No, he can't be 14. So he had to have kids. This child must, I don't know. I can't keep track. Too many. I can't count that high. When I get up to those numbers, I have to take my shoes and socks off. And even then, it gets complicated. It's complicated. Yeah. He can afford it, though. He can afford the alimony. My recommendation to all the men out there is just stay married. Yeah. It'll uncomplicate your life a lot. And of course, stock prices plunging. Elon's on a tour he's doing rallies, trying to drum up support for Doge. The Department of Getting Even, a lot of people upset with him. A lot of middle class, working class people not happy. A lot of seniors not happy as he gets in there and hacks and slashes and burns the system down. And this person here, I don't know what the heck to make of this. This is kind of weird. I think it's real. It's real, but I don't know. I don't know. There's something. I'm just going to run it because it just defies description for me. How do I even tee this up so you can understand, other than to say this person wants to meet Elon Musk face to face?
Dear Elon, I thought you'd want to come face to face with me, boy. You're your boyfriend, no doubt. Lies. Oh, and I'd see right through them, and you know I would. Would it be a dream come true if you met me in person? Would it?
People are looking for you, Elon. They're out there looking for you, dude. Okay. I told you I wasn't here on Saturday because it was birthday party day for both my son and my father, both of whom, excuse me, born April 1st, which is tomorrow. And I keep getting days mixed up and I lose days. So here's the thing. Had a good birthday party dinner thingy, family on Saturday. And then I got to thinking, you know, my dad, 93 years old. My son, also born April Fool's Day, tomorrow. Be careful. People might play tricks on you. My dad, 93. I thought, I got to share this with you guys. I got to share this with my Maverick family. So I thought about it yesterday. And then today, I decided we're gonna bring my dad on. We're gonna have a conversation with him, and we're gonna talk about his 93 years of memories. But more importantly, he got a book. My dad likes jokes, as you know. We've had him on telling dad jokes. So he's gonna do that, and he's also gonna read some excerpts from the Book of Answers. I thought, what could be more appropriate in this age of misinformation, disinformation, foreign interference, artificial intelligence? He's got an old-fashioned book that he got for his birthday, the Book of Answers. So tonight, we're going to go to my dad after this break. We're going to bring him in, and we're going to get some real answers, old school style, straight from his birthday book. Stay with me. You're going to love this.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, that's good.
What do you want to hear about?
What do I want to hear about? Well, first of all, happy birthday, since this is actually, oh no, it's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm a day early.
Oh, there you go.
Well, maybe this will be a triple, a hat trick birthday for you probably then, because
there you go.
Because I said happy birthday on Saturday, and now I'm saying happy birthday on Monday, and
right.
I'll have to call and say happy birthday again tomorrow.
So what would you like to know here?
I want you to share some of the stories out of one of your books that you got for your birthday.
Yeah, well, I can do that. Any particular story?
Well, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what's. I don't even really know what's in it. But it was it was the book of facts.
Here, how about who was the first heavyweight champion to retire undefeated?
The first heavyweight champion to retire undefeated.
Yeah.
Oh boy, would that be Rocky Marciano?
Rocco Francis Marciano.
Hey!
He was the heavyweight champion of the world from 1952 to 1956. To this day, with 43 knockouts to his credit, he remains the only heavyweight champion in boxing history to retire without a defeat or a draw.
Well, I got that one right. Well, how do you like that? That's something. Do you remember Rocky Marciano from when you were a kid?
Oh, I remember the name, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Back then, you didn't really have much.
On him.
A whole story on him in the book.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Well, share another fact. What's the name of the book? It's the Book of Facts.
The Book of Answers.
The Book of Answers.
Uh-huh.
And Ryan got you that for your birthday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we need lots of answers these days because nobody knows what's real anymore. With all the crazy stuff on the internet, nobody knows what's real and what isn't. So I thought we could get you to share some real answers with us tonight.
Do you want to hear a little bit more about him?
I want to hear a different one. We already know the answer.
Different one.
A different one. Pick a different one now.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. What else we got here? What is Punkin Chunkin?
What's what?
Punkin Chunkin.
Hunkin Chunkin? What's Hunkin Chunkin?
It's the term used for competitively chucking pumpkins as far as possible using machinery built for this express purpose.
Pumpkin chunkin.
Yeah.
Pumpkin chunkin?
Yeah.
Punkin chuckin.
Punkin chunkin. That's what it's called.
Punkin chuckin. Punkin chuckin.
Punkin.
Never heard of it.
Punkin. The first World Championship Punkin Chunkin contest was held in 1986 in Delaware. Are you there?
I'm here. Okay. Pumpkin.
The annual event moved to Rantoul, Illinois in 2019. The World Championship Punkin Chunkin Association governs the engineering and science-based event. It tracks the longest launched pumpkin and also raises money for scholarships and charitable programs. Teams compete in various classes depending on machine type and age group. The team that launches an 8 to 10 pound pumpkin of approved breed and species during the annual event becomes the world champion pumpkin chunker.
Okay.
Regardless of the class entered. And here are some of the particulars on some pumpkin chunkin devices used at the competition. A pneumatic air cannon launches a pumpkin by suddenly releasing compressed air from a high-pressure tank behind the pumpkin. When the valve is open, all of the compressed air pushes the pumpkin out to the tube.
Okay.
A tree bucket hurls the pumpkin by using a change in gravitational potential energy. It uses a short arm, which is weighed down with a heavy object, to counterbalance against the long arm where the pumpkin is placed. When the heavy mass of the short arm falls down, it provides the energy to fling the long arm.
Okay, I got it. Okay, give me another one. Give me something else. Give me another
Something. Okay.
Yeah. What's the book called again? The Book of Answers. Give me another answer to something.
Another.
Yeah, give me another one.
A different subject.
Yeah, different subject.
Okay. Where are the lumberjack world championships held?
In Squamish, British Columbia.
No, the world championships take place in Hayward, Wisconsin. Sometimes referred to as the Olympics of the Forest. It's a 3-day event and welcomes men and women to compete in 21 timber sporting events.
Oh.
They come from Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and the records of over $50,000 in prize money. Log rolling, also known as burling, is a test of balance. It involves rolling a log rapidly with your feet while floating in water. Well, we know that one, eh?
Yeah.
Boom running. Competitors run across a series of linked floating logs, or a boom, as fast as possible from one dock to another and back. And chopping is just what it sounds like. Lumberjacks and lumberjills test their endurance using axes to compete in the standing chop, underhand chop, springboard chop, and standing block chop.
Okay. Well, give me another one. Something completely different. Go to a way different part of the book.
Okay. Are there cultures in which women have multiple husbands?
Are there cultures where women have multiple husbands? Oh my goodness. Yes, there are, because I think Cleopatra had a whole bunch of husbands, didn't she? In Egypt or something? I don't remember.
Anthropologists use the term polygamy to refer to any marriage system that involves more than two people. The one husband, many wives form is called polygamy. The one wife, multiple husbands version is called polyandry.
Polyandry, yeah.
And if anthropologists have a special word for it, it must exist somewhere. Polyandry is, however, it's exceedingly rare. Only a few cultures continue to practice it today.
Actually, Dad, I have to share something important with you. Mom has been watching shows on those lifestyle channels and they have people who do that kind of thing, and she knows all about it. If you want to find out about all that stuff, she's well versed. She'll fill you in. She has all the gossip. She watches like the Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she watches all the shows about all the people doing all those, risque things. Just ask her. Ask her if she's seen any shows where women have more than one husband or boyfriend.
They have more than one husband, Mom.
There is one.
Yeah.
Told you.
Because they just started.
Because I hate to tell you, but I came upstairs a couple of times and she was watching that stuff.
It says here, only a few cultures continue to practice it today.
Yeah, well, we're living in one. We're living in one of those cultures right now. That's why some people are very upset about everything. People are getting ready to fight a world war over that stuff, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. It says here that they're trying to erode that practice by more modern ideas of love and marriage. The strongholds of polyandry are in Nepal and certain parts of India.
Yeah.
It's also practiced in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and in the United States of America and Canada.
Doesn't say anything about them.
Well, I'm telling you, they have TV shows about it right now. So and mom's been watching that stuff. So be careful. She might get some ideas. You never know.
Been thinking about it.
Yeah, I figured.
In many cases, this marriage practice takes the form of fraternal polyandry, in which one woman is married to several brothers.
Several brothers?
Yeah.
What
There
kind
may
of?
be a primary husband, that's the eldest brother, or the first one she married. If additional brothers are born after the marriage, they usually become the woman's husband as well. The reasons for polyandry are typically more economic than religious. In the areas where it is practiced, life is difficult and poverty is rampant. If a family divided its property among all the brothers, no one would have enough land to survive on. Through farming and herding, keeping all the brothers as part of one family keeps the familial plot in one place. The herding lifestyle also means one or more brothers are often away, tending the livestock for a longer period of time. So the other husbands can stay at home, protect the family, and tend the farm. Okay?
Well, might not be a bad setup, because then you can take turns taking the garbage out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's your turn to cut the grass.
It says here, other things besides garbage too.
Yeah. I do the recycling, you do the garbage. Fred gets to cut the grass.
It says here, the resources are so limited, polyandry also serves as a form of birth control. Since the wife can only get pregnant once every 9 months, no matter how many husbands she has. No one is ever sure which father sired which child.
Oh my.
So each tends to treat all the kids as if they were all his own.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Did you I think that the story that we shared over your birthday dinner about the score was more entertaining, to be honest. Do you not remember buying Score hair gel?
Yeah.
That was all the rage back in the 1970s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd slick back your hair. Everybody was wearing their hair all just like gelled up and cemented in place. And that stuff, I still remember that. I don't know. You probably wondered where all your Score hair gel was going. It was me. I was going into the bathroom and I was slicking my hair back. And yeah, I remember you'd put that stuff on and your hair would turn to plastic, so it wouldn't move even in a hurricane. Yeah. Yeah. And then you don't remember that?
No, I do.
Your mom does. I can't believe you don't remember Score hair gel. You had Brill cream sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you actually used to buy Score more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Is the North Star always in the north? The answer is yes.
Yes, it is.
But it's not quite that simple. Although the North Star is always in the north, it isn't always the same star. The North Star is also called the pole star.
Yeah.
Because it is the star most directly above Earth's North Pole. It appears due north of the observer, and the angle between it and the horizon tells the latitude of the observer. Consequently, the North Star has been used for navigation for thousands of years. However, the North Star has limited capability as a navigational tool because it is only visible in the northern hemisphere. It is of no help south of the equator. There's no precise southern hemisphere equivalent to the North Star, although the constellation Crux, or the Southern Cross, points to the South Pole. Back to the North Star and why its identity changes. Due to the precession of the equinoxes, which is a fancy astronomer's term for Earth wobbles, when it turns, the axis upon which our planet rotates shifts ever so slightly. As the shift occurs over many centuries, another star in the distance elbows its way in as the useful North Star. Currently, it's Polaris, a middling bright star at the end of the Little Dipper's handle, about 430 light years from Earth. The time is running out for Polaris, just as it did for its predecessors. In 3000 BC, the star Tuvan in the constellation Draco served as the North Star. In AD 3000, Gamma Alpha, or Alari, will get the call. Iota Kappa will have its turn in AD 5200, followed by Vega in AD 14,000. So the stars move.
Yes, I guess they do. Everything kind of moves in outer space.
Uh-huh.
You know, Ryan said that we should get you a guitar for your birthday, but we did. I said I don't think that's really necessarily a great idea, but I do. But do you remember when you brought that guitar home when I was really, really small? I'd be only about, I don't know, maybe 3 years old. And you brought that guitar home and you were going to learn how to play it.
Yeah.
And do you remember the day you brought that home and we were in your bedroom and you took it out of the case? Do you remember the song you were trying to play with us?
Hey, by Joe, you gotta go, me, oh my, oh.
That's right. Do you remember?
I kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you were playing the Hank Williams song, "Me Oh My," and I was like,
"We gotta go, me oh my." Oh.
That's right. Oh my, yeah, that was the.
But I said to Ryan, he mentioned it, and I said I wouldn't ever play it anyhow because my fingers are crooked and I can't reach the strings. You know?
Yeah.
He said, some guys play the guitar with 3 fingers.
Yeah. Some guys play the guitar with their teeth.
I guess so, yeah.
Yes, they do.
You gotta be pretty talented.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you sat there. I thought that was great fun that day when you brought that guitar home. You sat there and you couldn't play that thing, but you just like strummed on it, and we were all singing "Goodbye, Joe. Me gotta go. Me oh my oh." You gotta go pole to the, what is the lyric for that? The Perot or something, down by the bio. My Yvonne, the sweetest one, me oh my oh. Son of a gun will have big fun on the bio. But I could never get the words straight when I was a kid. I still can't get them straight now. That's like a different language. I think there's some Spanish mixed in with that song. But with that, we didn't care. That didn't matter. We were making up our own words. That me oh my oh. I remember all that stuff. Well, those were the days, boy.
That was a good day. Yeah.
How old are you now? 93.
What's that?
How old are you now?
93.
93.
Only 93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
93.
93.
So you're born in what year were you born in?
1932.
Wow. Right. You picked the best time to get born. Right in the middle of the Depression.
That's right.
Well, congratulations. You hit the jackpot. Oh,
Hang on. Yeah.
So you must have remembered like quite a bit from when World War II was happening and everything. Yeah,
Well,
a bit.
I was just a kid. I was just a kid, you know.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't remember who the hell.
I remember when it ended.
Oh, I remember when it ended. You know. Your
Yeah.
mother remembers that. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? What was it like when it ended? I remember asking you this when I was a little kid, and you just kind of gave me a vague answer, but
I forget now.
I
It
remember
was,
Uncle Al came
I remember it was it was a good thing it ended. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Japanese lived in the
Yeah.
out in the bunkers at the fairgrounds in Hudson. There was Japs and stuff that were out there.
So you had your mom's talking about Japanese Canadians
Yeah.
who were sent
They
out
were-
to,
they-
where were
they
they
were in the-
living? In the fairgrounds?
Yeah, they were in the grandstands, sleeping in there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How that went on for quite some time too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them talking about it.
And where was that, Mom? Was that in
Dresden.
Dresden? In Dresden.
I can
Unbelievable.
remember thinking, I hope I don't see any of those guys. Like it kind of scared me.
Scared you, yeah. But I mean, there weren't many Japanese people living in Dresden in those days. So
they were hiding.
oh, they were hiding.
Yeah, we didn't have any Japanese people living in Dresden. Those guys were hiding.
Oh.
They weren't from Dresden.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
Oh,
why
I
they were-
see. I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't from Dresden. They were just there hiding out, I guess.
Right. So they were, yeah, because they were afraid they were going to be put in a camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people were so afraid and paranoid, they thought they were spies. See?
Yeah.
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 Terrible. Oh,
Yeah.
well. What a terrible way to live.
Ah.
Well, we're kind of getting back to that now, but I don't know. It's strange times, but boy, I remember the good times. I remember I remember the guitar, and I remember the Hank Williams song. With I don't know, that stuck with me all my life.
When you brought the viola home?
When I brought the viola home from me?
From school?
Yeah,
you were gonna learn to play it, and I said, "No, you're not in my house."
well, I did. I did learn how to play the viola. I was in the orchestra at school.
Yeah.
Yes, and for a little while I was the lead viola, which was like a position of honor within the orchestra, but there was a girl who was really good too, and she was really in competition with me, and she unseated me from the lead viola position. Oh, I was so humiliated, but it was okay. She was really good and she deserved it. She practiced her tail off. And I'll tell you another little story. It's too much about me, but she was a really fast reader, and she would read aloud in what the English teacher would have us read aloud, and she would speed read, like talk really fast when she was reading. And because I was in competition with her with everything, because she was really smart, I started to do it too. And so then whenever her or I would be selected to read aloud in class, I would read as fast as I could, but she just had a motor mouth, and it didn't matter how hard I tried. I could not wrap my lips around those words as quickly as she could. She was just like this speed talker, speed reader. It was the stupidest thing, Dad. and it was the stupidest competition ever. And I bought into it because I was so competitive, and I had to try to win the speed reading talking narration thing with her. Oh, but I couldn't. She could talk a mile a second, that girl. Oh my goodness. But she was very smart. she deserved, I'll tell you this. I pity her husband. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I ran into her a few years ago. It's got to be, well, a few years. It's probably 12 or 15 years ago now. I ran into her, and I won't tell you her name, but she was married to a politician. So I guess in that respect, it was a match made in heaven. She's very nice, though. Very nice lady. She had a great family, and I didn't challenge her to a speed reading contest when I ran into her at this event, but that was a long time ago. Oh boy. So sorry, Mom. I did learn how to play the viola. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Well, just to sign things off tonight, Dad, tell us a joke because we've talked about war and bad stuff. But give us a joke to make everybody smile.
Okay.
Give me a joke. Yeah, you've got a million of them off the top of your head. Just share a joke with us. One joke tonight.
I've got a young kid was come home from school and went straight to his room. So his dad walked in and said, "What's the matter, son?" He said, "I'm just like George Washington." "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm a down in history." You get it?
No. No, I don't get it. What?
He failed his history class.
Oh, he went down in history. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, Dad.
I'll give you this one.
Okay.
This life caller has been enough of work. I've got some good news and bad news. "Oh, I'm awful busy," he said. "I'm awful busy. Give me the good news first." She said, "Oh, okay. The airbags on the cars work the way they're supposed to." You get it?
I've been there. I've had that experience.
The airbags on the car.
Yeah, the airbags worked on the car. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I've had that. I've had that kind of announcement here at home. Yeah, in the past. Oh well. Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, your insurance bill is going up. Yeah.
She ran into something.
Yes, that's right. Okay, well, happy birthday, Dad.
Okay, buddy.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Have a good one.
Love you.
Okay.
I love you, Mom. Bye.
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 Love ya.
Happy birthday, Dad. See you guys back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side.
He's got a plan. It's bold and grand, taking over land. Sea and sand, Canada's ours. Greenland's in the mix. The Panama Canal's just another fix. But Mars, oh Mars, you pesky red sphere, your spying drones are making it clear. It's a threat to Earth, a cosmic sin. But don't worry, folks, he'll make Mars great again. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. We'll impose sanctions emissions, taxes, and fines. Martian exports know they're crossing the line. The Martians cry foul, but Trump doesn't care. He'll build a space wall floating up there. Elon's on board with rockets ablaze. The stock market's loving this Martian craze. He says, trust me, folks, I know the deal. Martian gold is ours, this plan is real. Mega Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. Yeah, Mars hotels with golf resorts, intergalactic trade reports, a megadome where Martians bow. We've got the best Martians, Trump says now. Fake news claims the plan's absurd, but Trump tweets back, it's the final word. Martian drones not on my watch. Space Force ready to kick it up a notch. Mega Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say, can you see? He'll make Mars great again. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say, can you see? He'll make Mars great again.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.